Chris is gonna just drill a hole through the side of the van. Okay, we took a time out and put some tape between the side of the van and the moldings so metal shavings do not drop down in there. So Chris is gonna
continue.
Put a hole in the side of the van. First one in the side. There she is.
Okay. All right. We drew a level line up from the trim here on the outside of the van, so all of our plugs are kind of in line with each other. Here's our 3 pilot holes. That's where our shore power in is going to be installed, and this is where the power out will be installed. One will be inverter, one will be shore power. So we're going to put some blue tape around this whole thing so that we don't completely barf up the paint job. And I don't know, say a little prayer, throw some holy water on it.
Well, it rains every time Chris drills holes in the van.
It does. Crazy. All right, we're going to blue tape this and then we'll get ready to drill. We're taped. Sherry's going to be inside manning the vacuum cleaner, and I'm gonna be responsible for putting holes in the van. We need a 2-inch hole, so the shore power in is a 2-inch hole. The other 2 are 1 3/4 inch. Paint's flying. Look, there's a hole in the van. Hi, Sherry. There's a hole in the van. Yeehaw! Oh, the piece of metal?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, I'm going to do the same over here for these next 2 with the smaller bit, and then we'll be ready to mount those.
Negative.
What?
We have to prime that.
Ah, Sherry, you're brilliant.
Gotta file it a little bit.
You're brilliant.
See, that's why we put tape down.
Yeah. See all the shavings on the black there. That way, all the shavings didn't get into this little crack right there.
We need to file it a little bit.
Well, I'm gonna drill the other 2 holes. Then we can pull the tape. Then we can file. Then we can prime. Thank you, Sherry.
Always a process.
Always the steps involved. Always the steps involved. We have some plastic, some painter's plastic on the inside here to catch the shavings inside. So yeah, there's the hole.
It's taped up underneath there.
Yeah. So, okay, let's get the other 2 done, and Sherry will remind me of the correct steps that we need to do to complete this process in the proper manner.
Don't be in a hurry.
Ah. There's our holes. Filing them out. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little bit of a sharp edge right there, a little jagged. So file that all smooth. Then put a little paint on that, and then we can work on installing the plugs. And there we have our exterior power plugs installed. So shore power in, and then power out, one from the inverter, one from the shore power. We've got butyl tape around here. It's just squishing out. I cut this one away already, so we'll let it continue to squish. It'll ooze out from the edges for another day or so. So we'll wait till it's done, and then we'll cut that off. This is what it looks like inside. We have shore power in. We have 2 plugs here we can utilize. The plan is to cut the plug off and rewire these so we can run wire for shore power to other places in the van, like the refrigerator that will live up there and any place else we need it. And then same situation here for the power going out. We are going to hook these up to one of these shore power supplies, and the other one will get hooked up to the inverter, so that if we turn the inverter on, we have inverter power outside. I think we're good. We've got butyl tape kind of like wrapping the hole. So there's butyl tape inside and out. Sherry's playing with it. What are you doing, Sherry?
Pushing on it.
Pushing on it, okay. Yeah, we used, and Jerry had a really good idea, we used some bolts and nuts instead of the screws that came with it, because this is going to take a lot of pull. It's going to have a lot of movement in it. So we didn't want to have just the metal screws that came with it. Just make sure that it's solid in there. Yeah, so that's that. Next step is to get a board put on here and drill some holes through the board for these to come out of. We're hoping we can kind of combine, you know, two things in one hole here, and then these in one hole over here. I don't know, if we can get them all on one side to come out one hole, that would be great. We'll figure that layout out as we go. But we got to get this shape cut, because we got to go around the wheel well, and it's kind of an odd shape. So that's the next step. Today we're going to cut the plywood, the 1/2-inch plywood, to put on our wall here where all of our electrical components are going to live. We have to do that before we build our box or our shelf for the batteries to sit on, because everything ultimately either butts up to that wall or is attached to it. So I made a template here. I cut around the wheel well a little too round, so I've got a piece there to indicate more of a straight line. And then I just need to trim a little bit down off the top edge of it here so that it sits up underneath the bed frame here nicely. It will come up under here and just about touch the bed frame, and we can attach it on the top through the unistrut with some washers and screws. Everything else will be attached to the frame of the van here, or the wall of the van rather, with the plus nuts. And we'll figure out where we need to drill holes through this board to allow our wires to come through to be able to be connected to everything else down the line. So this is step one, is getting this board cut in this template. I'm hoping, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm hoping that we can just flip this over to this side and just use the same template. It should be pretty darn close. I mean, the bed is pretty square, and the frames, the legs are pretty much in the same spot, so we'll see what happens. But right now we're just focusing on the electrical side of the build, so we can start getting all of our solar components hooked up, get our fans hooked up and working, get our fridge hooked up and working, lights, all that stuff. So that's today.
Chris, what are we doing today?
Today we are cutting out the board. It's going to be in the garage on the electrical side. 1/2-inch plywood, cutting it out around the wheel well so it will fit nicely in there, so we can secure it to the van and build our battery box in front of it and screw and secure all of our electrical components onto the board. So this essentially is the electrical side garage wall. Here's the 1/2-inch plywood. It's in place. This represents the electrical side of our garage, the wall of the garage. We're now going to work on getting a box built, or at least a ledge, I should say, a shelf built. Our batteries are going to be setting kind of on this and then on a shelf that's going to extend out 40 inches, which will bring it somewhere about here. So we need just a shelf with a leg on it. And then once we get that figured out, we'll attach pieces here to make a box around the wheel well. We don't want to make a separate box and then have another height, you know, added for the shelf. So we'll figure all that out. But that's essentially our garage wall. I'm in the garage of the van today, and we're installing the wall of the garage where all the electrical components will be mounted to. And we're doing that with plus nuts. We've mentioned plus nuts in the past, and this is what a plus nut looks like before it is installed. It's just a nut that has a little bulb. See that, how that middle kind of bulges out a little bit? And then there's slots. So when the plus nut goes in the hole and it's pulled back, those slots and that little bulged out area squeeze in. Let me get a better angle here, I'll show you. This might be better, I'm not sure. The lighting is not really great today. But, so those that bulged area there with those slots are what allows the plus nut to work. So this goes into a hole in the wall like this. So this is showing here. And then when you tighten it down, these slots here and the bulge out area allow the nut, the plus nut, to compress this way, causing these 4 bits here to make like a plus sign. It becomes like a cross, basically, in the back of the wall. So this goes in and expands behind the wall, like that. I've got most of them installed. I'm going to be installing these down below here now. And once I start the process, I'll see if I can get the camera at a good angle to actually look down in there so you can see how it works. It's kind of neat. These are very strong. These are the 5/16 size, which are really big. A quarter would do it. But we use 5/16 for the bed rails all around. And we had the 5/16 bolts to allow us to get these in today and potentially get our wall mounted. So that's why we're using the large size. So let me get a better angle here. I'll show you how this works. Okay, here we are looking down the channel, the wall channel. Out here is the garage, and this is the outside of the wall. So the plus nut goes in here like this, and I'm going to tighten it down using this Mickey Mouse configuration. It looks kind of Mickey Mouse. But basically what you do is you have this threaded rod here. It's stainless steel. The threads are very strong, so they won't strip out over multiple uses. And then you have a series of washers and larger nuts that just slip on the bolt. They don't thread. And this allows the stainless steel bolt to turn independently of all of this while still giving a point here to pull the plus nut. So you thread this on here. I don't know if I'm explaining that well. This threads onto here and it bottoms out to the washer. So now by having all of this in the middle here, I put a wrench on this to hold the whole thing in place. So wrench will go on here. And I'm hand tightening it with an Allen wrench. The tool we bought for this specifically, I don't know if you remember, I showed you in one of the videos, we returned it. It did not work well. It was for riv nuts, and I couldn't configure it well enough to work for the plus nuts. It's a different system just by a little bit. So this goes in here. A wrench goes on here to hold this stable while I turn this, and in turning the bolt, it allows the nut to be pulled against the wall of the inside wall of the van. So let me show you. I'm using silicone. I learned after several of these that squirting a little silicone on there really does make a difference. So let me squirt some silicone on here, just in the way it all glides, because there's a lot of tension here. So just gonna get a little silicone on everything, in between the washers everywhere. Get that going. Get this in the wall here. And yeah, my hole's a little big. Ideally, you should be able to push in and have it kind of grab a little bit. So that might be why I'm having a little difficulty. But it's been working. So I'm going to just leave that there. And on the floor, I have the advantage of the floor holding it for me, so I don't have to worry too much about grabbing onto it. So let's just give this a couple turns here. Oops, the wrench slipped off. Let's do that. Let's give this a couple turns here, get it started. I'll show you. I might switch to the drill, I'm not sure. Main thing is you want to keep this flush against the outside. You want to try to keep it as square to the outside as possible. This is actually really hard against the floor. I thought it'd be a little easier, but not having a lot of room to turn is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Let me try the drill. Let me try the drill down here because this is a little challenging. Can you see that working? Can you see that pulling this up? That's pretty good. The drill worked well. Give it a little tighten here, make sure we're good. It feels good. That's expanded all the way in the back. I do have to now loosen this, so I'm going to go backwards. Loosen that. So we can unscrew the bolt. And the drill worked better than I thought it would. Maybe I'll use that for the rest of them. Just gotta be careful you don't go too fast. You don't want to over tighten it and strip everything out. So let's look behind there and you can see what it looks like after it's expanded. Oh, there's a good one right there. That's a good example right there. That's what it looks like when it expands. Right there. So that's what we should have right here. This is the one we just installed. So it expands back there and it grabs onto the back of the wall, holds this in place. So now we have a place that is threaded that when we attach something to, we can bolt into. That's a plus nut. We've got the wall cut out. It fits real nice. We installed plus nuts in the side of the van. Now we just needed to figure out where those plus nuts are when we put the plywood up, because when the wall is in place, obviously you can't see the plus nuts. Sherry and I were here kind of racking our brains, kind of thinking like, how do we do that? How do we figure out where the plus nuts are behind the solid 1/2-inch plywood?
If we only had one or two, we've seen where you can take the bolt that fits into the plus nut, cut it off, and make a point on it. Screw it back in and then bang it, and then it'll make a nice little dimple.
Yep. But we have 13.
13 of them. And
we're not cutting 13 bolts.
that's not happening.
To do it all at once, and we're certainly not doing 2 or 3 at a time. Putting the board in, pulling it off, moving them, doing 2 or 3. We're not doing that. So we thought, well, what can we use to mark the back of the board? I was thinking butyl tape that would just stick on it. Sherry had a great idea, something that we could use to actually, you know, like a crayon or something, like a lipstick trick. Where
yeah.
So the stain that we used for the platform, it's a gel stain. It's not runny at all, and it's really kind of thick, so it kind of stays in place. So we folded Q-tips in half, shoved the Q-tips in all the holes, and put gel stain on them. And this is what it looks like right here. Sherry's going to pull one out now. So that's a Q-tip just folded in half, shoved in the hole. Gel stain on the tip. Throw it away. All 13 holes have Q-tips with gel stain on them.
So we'll show them what that looks like on the board.
Yeah, we put the board in place and pushed it on.
Being careful not to smear it.
Right, yeah, because it has to kind of come in at like a little angle to kind of scoop up here to get behind the unistrut. But it worked great. Let's show you what it looks like out here. There's our 13 marks on the back side of our board. We know exactly where to drill through. You can see kind of the center mark. I don't know if that's actually transitioning out into the camera, but we know exactly where to drill to be able to locate our plus nuts when we put the board on and we want to attach it. That worked great. Brilliant idea.
It's a combination.
Yeah, so I think we're going to kind of end our day here pretty much. We do need to get some anchors because when we go to attach the board up top here, you know, the board's going to be sitting behind this, and we're going to be bolting through the unistrut into the board. We can't get back here to like hold a nut or anything, so I think we're going to have to get some kind of a wall anchor that we can just pop through that will expand behind, like a spring expansion behind it. So we need to go buy some of those so we know the size holes to drill for that. But that was the end of our confusing day as to how do we mark the board. Q-tips with some gel stain on it. Worked like a charm. We have our panel in place. Got that finished off yesterday. This morning we're back here trying to figure out the mounting options for the box. So the box is going to sit on the wheel well and extend out the 40, I think it's 40.5 inches to accommodate our batteries. So there'll be a platform here. Comes out, I think it's 8.5 inches if I remember correctly. So we've got our 2x2 bolted through the plus nuts into the wall. Those are strong. We'll have an extra little stub in the back end here as a leg, just for more support. It's supported here on the wheel well. And my tool fell over, so I hope it didn't ruin it. Nope, perfect. We are good there. And then when I bring it down to this end to look, we are good here. So we know we're the same height off the floor. Really enjoying this handy little setup on the framing square and a speed square. The back end here is going to have a 1/2 inch wall that will come out and wrap around the wheel well and go down to the floor. So that's going to be the cap end of the box there, and then there'll be another 1/2 inch on the end here, and then 3/4 inch base with a 3/4 inch leg that comes up under that base to hold the weight of the batteries. I think the batteries weigh 23 pounds a piece, and there's 4 of them, so that's, what is that, 90 pounds? What's 23 times 4? 46, 92? 92 pounds. Batteries weigh 92 pounds total. So that's great that, I mean, a lot, it won't all be over the wheel well, but a good portion of it will be kind of dispersed in the wheel well area there. I think there's only going to be 2 batteries at the very end and then 2 closer to the wheel well. So we're happy with that placement. We've got that figured out. We're going to kind of screw this in and get it held onto the board where it needs to be, because as soon as we pull those bolts out, it's not going to be held. So we're going to screw that onto the board, get that on there nice and tight, and work on the rest of it. This is our sidewall for our battery platform. When we attach it to the floor with L brackets, we need to drill through our lovely vinyl floor here to get those brackets attached to the floor. So this will go in place, be screwed down to the floor with those L brackets. The shelf the batteries sit on will go on top of everything here. And then sidewalls will go up on the front and back ends. And the batteries will sit on the shelf. So we're doing that today. We're going to get everything set up. Yesterday we drilled our hole. We have our inverter power outlet cord sticking through the wall there. The junction box is where I have put together all the shore power wires. That bundle of wire there is going to be our shore power that will go to the outlets that'll be above the foot of the bed and back this way to the kitchen, and then over across to the other side of the van to power things like our refrigerator and give us shore power on the other side of the van. I also connected the other leg of the shore power outlet coming in to the shore power going out outlet. So that's connected, so we now have shore power outside whenever we're plugged in outside, or plugged into shore power. We can utilize that outside. We've got all this prepared. Sherry did a great job at sealing up all the boards yesterday. So just steps in the process of making it happen. That's what we look like so far. This is mounted in there nice and solid. That's not going anywhere. We've got the wood at an angle on the back end over the wheel well. Maximize our little extra cubby storage if we decide to use it for that. That board right there is going to go on here, and that's the base of our battery box. I've got insulation stuffed in the other side. I can insulate the wheel well up to that point. This piece here with the funny notch is the piece that goes here on the end over the wheel well. That's gonna fit in there. Whoop, let me change hands here. It's gonna fit in there nice. I've got a little trimming to do on it to get it tighter in there, but we wanted to make sure we had everything kind of put together up top here first. Then we'll adjust the end pieces. Sherry put a little caulking along the edge there and along this edge here where the angle piece meets the floor to just seal that up. And now I think we're ready to put the bottom of the box on. Here's how our batteries are going to fit. We've got 4 lithium-ion batteries here from Lion Energy. They are 105 amp hours each, so it's 420 amp hours of power we have. There's a lot of great features to this battery. They have a great battery management system built in. There's also a way to see how charged the battery is. Press the button and boom, full charge. So they're all fully charged. You need to charge them all before you install them. They need to come into use at 100%. I think they ship with a 40% charge or 60% charge or something like that. So we need to secure these to the wall. So what we're doing is we're going to put in the back, let's see if I can get around here. It's pretty bright out just in that one spot. Around the back side of the battery, there's going to be a 1x2 here and a 1x2 just under this lip. There's a lip right here. So a 1x2 under the lip that the batteries will kind of squeeze against, so be pushed to the wall. And we're going to put a threaded rod with an anchor coming out of the wall out to here on both ends. And in between that is going to be a piece of unistrut. You know, this stuff here like we use to build the bed frame and stuff. So the unistrut will be there, and that's what is going to hold the batteries tight against the wall. Then our end wall pieces will go on. Both ends of this ledge, this box. We'll figure out the height that we need that to be. We want to be able to access these posts from the front. Everything will be accessed from the front. No need to lift up and over to put a battery down in. They'll just be able to come forward and backward. And then on that shelf is where we are going to mount some of our components. The inverter will go on the shelf, so it's flat. So it's flat down with the weight instead of up against the wall this way. I think the DC to DC charger will go here as well on the shelf. Over here is going to be the MPPT charge controller. The fuse panel will be somewhere in here on the wall. Shut-off switches, fuses, the whole array of things that I don't even know about yet. So that's the beginning. We're going to get those braces installed in the back. We're going to figure out even spacing on the ends, get the rods in place, and get the unistrut here to secure the batteries to the vehicle. We might actually put another brace of some sort on top so they don't bounce up and down. We'll see how solid these are when they are squeezed together with that unistrut. They might do it. But we definitely don't want any issue where the posts could come in contact with any metal, or even just wood could do damage to the wing nuts or anything like that. So we're going to secure these tight and start building around it to get our system in place. There we are. All 4 of our batteries are in place. We've got 3 points here where they are attached and secured to the wall, and they are solid. Nothing about that is loose. The end pieces are not attached yet. They're just kind of there. We just want to make sure it would fit because we had to grind down our washers. We had to grind a flat edge of the washer to make it fit. Custom fit. Both ends there. So yeah, so now we just need to figure out how high we need it for the shelf on top for clearance. We might get shorter posts. These batteries came with long posts. These remove, so you can put your larger cables, secure your larger cables to the bottom of this. you know, like directly from like the battery to battery charger, and to go from battery to battery as we go along the run. So we might get shorter posts ultimately, so we're not this high up attaching our smaller items to. But anyway, we've got them in. There's clearance for a lot of you know, work, especially if we get shorter posts. So figuring out the next step, which is building the shelf and then mounting all of our extra accessories for solar.